Hello and welcome back to Raw and Unfiltered. My name is Chris. Today we're going to go into number 3 on our God of Thunder series. I'm going to start to tie everything that we've learned so far about the quantum realm, about electrodynamics, about creation and the nature of God, about the design of human beings. We're going to tie it all together now, and it's going to make a little more sense, I hope. Now, we learned our tremendous capacity as electrical human beings, right? With neshama, was the breath of God, our spirit, to affect the atomic and the subatomic world around us. The unseen becomes seen. Okay? Continuing today, I want to focus on how we deal with the dark powers or forces that are aligned against us in birth today. It's a topic we're all having to face, right? We're facing dark powers trying to inject technology and stuff into our bodies to control us. There's an enormous trend in the earth today towards authoritarianism, which is amazing. Not to mention the very fabric of the world itself in the natural realm is being stretched and pulled. I'll discuss that a little bit here. Now, I'm a student of history. I'm a big student of history. And one of the things you'll find is that there are cyclically consistent patterns of waves, right, where things come and go. And C.S. Lewis once said in the Chronicles of Narnia, evil has the upper hand in a season. And I think it's brilliantly stated. In these times, change comes when evil seems to have the upper hand, when we're at that peak of time where the Lord speaks, and then we go down to a time where there's seemingly nothing going on, where evil seems to have the upper hand. The way that we get back up again is through people. It's through normal, everyday people like you and I actually getting a hold of these very realities that we've been discussing, okay? Now, change comes from these believers being connected to God. And the Moravian revival of the 1700s, it's one of my favorite periods. Now, not for what it's normally known for. It's known as a prayer movement, but I think that's an unfortunate reality, because I'm telling you something. The reality of what really started there was a group of people loving each other, taking care of the poor and the needy. And you're going to find, as I'm going to tell you here in a few minutes, that some of the greatest move of God's in the earth actually happened that way. And they really actually weren't through prayer meetings. Now, I'm glad that there was a prayer meeting that went on for many, many years, but that didn't happen until decades after they started a community. They started practicing in love, and they were actually walking in something powerful. You know, John Wimber once said that each generation has to find its own way of connecting with God, and you'll find that that's part of that waves, right? I was raised a hardcore Baptist, right? And we were told that God is always the same, yesterday, today, and forever. And then a little yawn, you know. It's unfortunate. Look, he is the same yesterday and forever. That's incorrect. But all through nature, you find waves, you find peaks. God moves in different times and different stages. It's not a steady, flat thing, and we tend to think that. But that doesn't change our focus, right? Because we need to be his light in the world. We know that is. And so what I want to encourage everyone today is that we are that light right now. And yeah, we seem to be going in a downward trough today, but we don't give into the fear, into the anxiety and the depression. We don't hide from it all. That's not what we do. And I'm amazed today by the amount of people who think politics are the answer. I'm shocked, especially in the United States here. When has that ever been the answer? Thank God our forefathers created something absolutely amazing a few hundred years ago. But I'm telling you, they know, and they wrote extensively that wasn't going to be the answer. One of the greatest embarrassments in all of U.S. history, in the world maybe, but definitely U.S. history, is the prohibition, the idea, the foolish thinking they could actually change people from legislation and from the outside. I'm telling you, our world does not work that way. Now, am I saying you shouldn't be in politics? I never said that. All I'm saying is that it's not the ultimate answer. That's fine. If God's called you to do politics, do it with all of your heart. But I'm telling you that your hope in politics is not the way it is. We don't find that anywhere in church history. It's fascinating to me. But listen, how did the Moravians actually change their world? By being love. They got connected. What I'm teaching you today, they didn't understand the quantum realm. They didn't understand anything. They didn't have to. All they did was they got to know God. They adored Jesus, and they loved him with all their heart, soul, and mind, and strength. You know, there's another one of my favorite stories, and that's Peter Waldo in the 1100s. We're talking the Dark Ages, right? I love this guy because he actually went out and paid some priests, because back then all the scriptures were in Latin, and nobody had the Bible. So you couldn't just sit down and read the Bible. Nobody had read the Bible for hundreds and hundreds of years. So he goes and pays some priests in France to transcribe just the Gospels. That's all he got. And him and his buddies, he was a very wealthy man there in Lyon, France, and they actually translated the scriptures into French. They studied the Gospels. That's all they had was the Gospels. And they determined two things out of that. Ignorant men who knew nothing about the scripture, had never had a Bible study, had never been in a Sunday school class, nothing. They went to Catholic church, but all they had was Latin. Here's what they came out with. Number one, we don't need a priest to get to God. We have to go directly to Jesus Christ. And number two, our tremendous obligation to the poor and the needy, helping the less fortunate, bringing hope to the hopeless. Amazing. Well, those guys, Luther pointed back to Zwingli, and Zwingli pointed back to Peter Waldo. Peter Waldo ended up birthing the Reformation and the joy that you and I have today, because these guys got out and said, hey, we're going to start to change our world. We're going to affect our world. Now, what I want to get into a little bit is men and women, though, are very prone, human beings are prone to shortcuts, right? And we find this all throughout nature, right? So we did a series earlier, I'm not going to do it again, where we talked about how the Egyptians were masters at trying to master the quantum realm, the frequencies and electrodynamics, and they were doing this in the wrong way. Witchcraft does this today, right? And so I have friends who have been very active in Africa, and you'll find that these witch doctors are actually very skilled in this stuff. But what's fascinating is that when they get around believers who are really connected to God, they come up to them and go, what do you have? I want it. I'm telling you this. Remember, human beings have the authority and the mandate over this universe. It was never rescinded. Never, ever. It was never rescinded. That's what Satan wanted from Eve. He had to go and get the access from her because he doesn't have it on his own. Now, we have one example in the Old Testament. Everybody takes this one example. Satan wanted to go and get Job, but he couldn't because he was surrounded by angels, okay? There's your proof that he can't do anything. So he went to God directly in heaven, and he's just wanting to get at Job. So God gives him this ability for a very limited time to have disease, to cause storms, which is amazing. But that was an exception. We have one time. Satan does not have that authority. When Jesus came, he said, past tense, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. You see, he was booted out of heaven. He's not there anymore. Where is he? Well, he's down here creating as much havoc as he can because he knows his time is short. Well, he's trying to get access. He's trying to get access to you. He's trying to get access to the people around us. He's trying to get access to the media. Well, he did it from the Third Reich. We know that the occult and the witchcraft were totally rife. It's very well documented all throughout the Nazis. If dark powers can do that much damage with human access, what can God do? Now, today the dark powers are at work and masses of people are giving people access. The answer isn't politics alone. It's not preaching alone, although both of those are good. We need that. We need to be like Moses. We need to be like Jesus on the mountain. We need to be like Elijah on the mountain, being with God, having that connection, letting him work through us, right? And when we do this, it empowers angelic beings. It changes the quantum fields around us. So what do we do today? The number one thing we need to do is stop getting dragged into all the anxiety and the fear in this world. I'm telling you, go get alone with God, get connected with him at all costs, at all costs. Keep your intimate connection with him. Now today we're going through another thing, a magnetic reversal. The magnetic North Pole and the South Pole, they've moved more in the last 20 years than they have in the last 100, but they're racing towards the equator. We have cyclical patterns. I don't want to get into all that today. I'm telling you something. 100 years ago, John G. Lake was alive, one of my favorite figures. He had 100,000 documented healings in the state of Washington. Peak of the wave. 100 years later, we have the low of the wave, right? Now, he said one day that men and women would get a hold of the science of the spirit, and when they did, they would change the world. We're told in one day in a laboratory, he went in and had the bubonic plague put on his hand under a microscope, and it died instantly. I don't doubt that, because I am telling you, when you're in connection with God, when you're in connection with him, the quantum realm is activated by the same spirit that actually birthed this entire universe into place, birthed every photon, every atom, every subatomic particle into place, everything. That tremendous power is in you and me today. There is such tremendous power that we have yet to access. There is a generation raised up today that will get a hold of this, and it comes from connecting to God, reaching through the quantum membrane and getting a hold of God, affecting the world around you in real life. So marvel at who he is. Marvel at how big he is. Get a God-sized vision of how great he is. Let every cell in your being, every atomic and subatomic particle around you be in harmony and be in alignment with him. And be practically giving out love to everybody that you can, showing the kingdom, reaching out, helping bring hope to the hopeless. This is how we change our world. This is how we do this. We're bringing Jesus into this world in a practical way, and we can change it today. We can turn things around. It's not over. So that's my encouragement to you today. I'm going to wrap up this with now, and we're going to move on to other things here. I want to thank you very much for joining us. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. But be encouraged today. You don't need to be discouraged. We have all the power. We have everything we need. Let's lay a hold of the quantum God, the Father, God His Son, God the Holy Spirit through the quantum realm. Let's lay a hold of this and manifest it in this realm. Be encouraged.